Hello, this is the Harboring Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative take about the world around me. So my introductions. Feel free to reach out to me either through email, Substack, or X. And of course, fill up those comments on YouTube. It's greatly appreciated. I do respond, so don't hesitate. So some of the audio platforms that I'm on: Spreaker, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. And these are just to name a few. Now, this episode is about makeup, and particularly I'm going to talk about lipstick. So I'm going to talk about the historical aspect of it and, some other interesting facts about it and the concept of red lipstick and how that image is impactful, I guess you can say, and the idea of beauty more along. I would say beauty, fashion, that goes hand in hand, but I'm more aligned with beauty, and then linking that out to the aspect of fashionable, how that looks too. All right, here we go. So this is the AI generated response that I typed in to my Brave search engine as far as the aspects of the origin of lipstick. So here we go. So Mesopotamia around 3500 BCE. Women in ancient Mesopotamia around grounded precious gems into a fine dust to decorate their lips. This was one of the earliest known uses of lipstick. So the Indus Valley Civilization around 3000 BCE. Women in the Indus Valley regularly used lipstick, often made from natural materials available to them. So going on to ancient Egypt around 2000 BCE. Egyptians used a variety of ingredients to create lip color, including crushed beetles and other materials. They applied the color with a wet wooden stick. So red lipstick became a symbol of status, particularly among royalty and the clergy. So on to ancient Greece and Rome. Lip coloring was popular, especially among prostitutes, who were required to wear it to distinguish themselves. However, as Christianity spread, the use of cosmetics was often condemned. And lipstick fell out of flavor in many parts of Europe. So the Tang Dynasty, China, 618 to 907 CE. Chinese lipsticks were made from beeswax and scented oils, providing protection from the lips and in that extending scent. So in 1884, the first commercially produced lipstick was invented by French perfumers, formulated from deer tallow, castor oil, and beeswax. It was sold in paper tubes or pots. So on to 1911 and then 1923. So first with 1911, the year. So metal lipstick tubes became available, making it easier for women to reapply their lipstick on the go. So on to 1923, James Brace Madison Jr. patented the first swivel up lipstick tube. A design still commonly used today. To wrap up, these earlier forms of lipstick varied widely in ingredients and application methods, reflecting the culture and technical context of their time. Okay, so I am going to extend all of this out. So here are some of, we got from Britannia, we got from some of the sources here, for instance, and then the Library of Congress, just to name a few of some of the sources that I'm going from, and dailyjstore.org, besmartguide.com, lipstickhistory.com. To add on to that, National Geographic. To add on to this, to name a few of some of the sources that was pulled from the AI-generated response. Okay, so I'm going to extend out, as I was saying, and I'm going to read from History of Lipstick, and then I'm also going to read from the origins of red lipstick and the history, and then going on and end up with the royalty, prostitutes, witches, and movie stars, the history of red lipstick from Ioxology, I believe the pronunciation, beauty.com. And before I get into the nuts and bolts, getting back to the facts, I'm going to, I guess you say, I break it up with my thoughts here, or, interjection here in between the segments here about my thoughts on lipstick and the aspect of how that it surfaced itself, its importance, that is, in our society. Okay, here we go. All right, on to my thoughts. So, lipstick here. It's quite interesting. Again, even the small details can symbolize and advertise, certain aspects of negative connotations versus bad connotations, or versus how it evolves itself to, let me say that again. Negative connotations versus good connotations, and, how that evolves into what it becomes. So it's quite interesting with the matter of fact, with the aspect of prostitution here, with the aspect of how morality comes into play when differentiating whatever that's supposed to mean, the aspect that you're a prostitute. Well, I get it, but you tend to think, my mind and tends to think, okay, what's the extension of that? That means the different. What other things does that mean? But simply put, from my point of view, from my perspective, it's just this: people were realizing that, particularly, especially in the Greek culture, when they really coined that term free love here, that it's time for a change. It's time for a moral compass in our society, because if we don't see the writing on the wall, we're just going to fall to decay, and that goes without saying. And I think it's quite interesting when you come into the aspect of Christianity, and that comes into play of setting out rules and where people should be, and it grounds themselves in that respect. And then it's quite interesting how, the aspects of lipstick change throughout time. So, and I'm going to get back to this. So, throughout time, it became very chic, particularly in the fashion world. Same as, you wear a little black dress, you might wear some red lipstick, and then that polishes the look here. And then it goes into the aspect of centrality too, because red engages, the color red engages in excitement and so forth. And so that's why, that's it's been tested and it's been proven. So for there is proof that, like say for instance, if you own a red car, particularly a red sports car, or a red car in general, or a red motorcycle, you'll get stopped or pulled over most of the time. Now, that it just goes without saying, the reason why is because it brings a lot of attention. And so, and then it loses the identity of fast excitement. And so that goes on to say, and then I'll get back to the point here. I know I said that, but, it's very interesting. There's a lot of concepts that goes with the aspects of red. And so, that's why fast food establishment use the color red, because it's supposed to egg in innate excitement. And that takes on a whole different meaning when we get into food. And some people, that's the way of the world. But there's people out there that find, erotic pleasure in food, and that's a whole nother ball game in itself. But, typically, the reason why food is red is associated with food is because it engages attention, quick, fast attention, to where it's supposed to innate hunger. And so that's why you see McDonald's and so forth, other establishments. Okay, so going back to morality and the differentiating with that, particularly with lipstick and sophistication, so on. I think the actress, bless her soul, Audrey Hepburn, really, really epitomizes the aspect of digging in and changing the concept of something. So what am I saying? So before Audrey Hepburn here, the aspects of being an actress was seen as either something that's very unsavory, where we get in the aspect of, prostitution here, or it was seen as someone who is overly vain, extremely eccentric, to where you just don't want to deal with him. So she brought in the idea that an actress can have nobility, and she proved that point, nobility, but also sophistication at the same time here. And so within that brought out a certain charm in her image as an actress. And so actors just, after her, who were inspired by her and so forth, they realized that who wanted to take that route, that is unfortunate that, they present themselves that way, but they're not actually that way. But that's a whole nother story and podcast in itself. So, here. And the idea that class and sophistication really is the embodiment of seeing that your profession is the person is the sum of all its parts. So that means that you started to get a consciousness of, an awareness of that actors. She brought that to the forefront, that actors, but in this case, actresses are, more than what they sing. And so that was quite noble of her to do that. She even was, in her later years, did humanitarian philanthropy, so on. And she really believed in the cause to help people. And then she even said that Yeah, I saw a documentary about her some years ago, and about the aspects of her thinness, and what does that spawn from? Why did she want to hold on to the aspect of being so thin? And so it's alleged that she went through uh, a hard time, particularly when the 40s came around, in the 30s, in the Great Depression and all of that. And she suffered tremendous changes, tremendous loss through that. And so it was a spirit of determination, of discipline to keep herself trim here. And so that goes out saying, too, was that, did she have a disorder, so forth? Did that turn to a psychological damage of saying that you always have to be in control of yourself. You always have to be, you're never enough sort of aspects. But that's another thing to think about, too. But reeling in is quite noble to anchor yourself down and understand the true grit of discipline, in that sense that if you want merit in your life, you have to have these simple, basic regimens in order to achieve success, to see the bigger picture in life. And that's something to think about. And so, needless to say, wrapping up, that was a lot that I was saying, but wrapping up, simply put here, again, as I said in the beginning of my thoughts, just quite interesting how the concept of something evolves and changes itself over time to where, something used to be disdained, but it becomes, popular, or it becomes a part of high class. It's quite interesting. All right, so I'm going to go on to the more of details, more in-depth information about lipstick, red lipstick. Here we go. Okay, so history of lipstick. So from the classic red to the most outrageous color of lime green, there is a lipstick shade for everyone's desire. So possession from face paint for hunters to cosmetics, the lipstick has become a common staple in the makeup drawer and one of the most popular makeup items to be sold. So as a symbol for the transition into adulthood, many see wearing lipstick as one of the ways to symbolize growing into a young adult. However, while millions use lipsticks on a daily basis, most have no idea about the origin of lipstick or its importance. So the first lipsticks were often very crude formulas, only being made of available materials. And so, that's interesting enough to say how that digs in with the concept of you make do with what you have around you, and you see what can come of it. And then, that's something to think about too, with the process of how things evolve and how things shape themselves. When you go back to early civilizations, they see something and say you get that goes without saying, to the power of curiosity. See something, wondering if it can if you can do it or not. Then the process of evolved thinking of how this can, if I do this or think about things in this way, how can that make my life more efficient? And that's something to also factor into the aspect here and the concept here about lipstick makeup too. So these paints were used often by women and men alike in earlier times, and are a fair cry from what modern lipsticks are today. Often they were fine powders with dyes tossed into them in a bowl and applied with a brush rather than a portable compact tube. Early formulas were closer to water-like consistency than the solid blendable formulas that have become common. So here we go with the earliest origins of lipstick linking to Cleopatra. So the earliest records that we have of anyone manufacturing lipstick is in Mesopotamia, as I was mentioning in the AI-generated response, where women grounded precious gems to dust in order to decorate their lips. This was the first production without using natural, readily available resources. The process started in Mesopotamia in 2500 BC and spread rapidly, changing how people produce their once crude face paints into a more luxurious form. When the process settled in Egypt around 2000 BC, many members of royalty or the clergy began to experiment with other ingredients. Many poisonous many ingredients were poisonous to create several types of lipsticks. That's interesting. It was here in Egypt that the classic red became popular. So only women of power and status wore red. And one of the most notable figures is that of Cleopatra. So lipsticks, from the year A to 12 AD, a man named Abdul al-Zawahiri was the first to create a product most similar to modern-day lipstick. He took perfume sticks and rolled them into special molds to create the first ever solid lipstick. It took the world by storm as it proved that there were better ways to make lipstick more portable. However, it was in 1884 when a French cosmetic company by the name of Guerlain manufactured what we would soon call commercial lipsticks as far as the ingredients that were used. And so now I mentioned about other links before I started, when I was introducing the facts. Now I think these, I chopped it down and I narrowed it down. I think these two articles that I'm going to provide the link that I'm reading for is more concise. So I'm just going to go with these two links instead of the other links. The third link that I was talking about. All right. So he took perfume sticks, as I said. And so it took the world by storm as it proved that there were better ways to make lipsticks more portable. However, it was in 1884 when a French cosmetic company by the name of forgive me for the pronunciation of this, Guerlain, manufactured that what we would soon all call commercial lipstick. As far as the ingredients that were used, they produced a lipstick made from deer tallow, as I was mentioning in the AI-generated response, beeswax, and castor oil. And it was all wrapped up in a nice silk paper package. Finally, in 1923, the first swivel tube lipstick was created by, so they say, Maurice Levy. So from there, this design, that's why it's good to get further into depth to, check out the facts here. Okay, so from there, this design took off due to its easy application and portability. Over the years, cosmetic companies have taken the basic packaging and put their own artistic license to use, either changing the bullet shape or the tube into more interesting shapes or changing colors. It's quite interesting, the bullet shape there to, assert some kind of whimsy to it or something. And that's quite interesting to, figure out, why bullet shape here. So, scandalous lipstick in history. Interesting enough, lipstick was not always widely acceptable as it is today. In fact, it may shock you. Let me phrase that properly. It may shock you to know that at one point, lipstick was declared illegal. It was during the Dark Ages of Europe approximately in the 16th century. And that's quite interesting that really, when medieval times, the Dark Ages, it really wasn't, it was a lot of advancement and a lot of, enlightened thoughts that were going on. It's just that it's one of those things, when you go throughout time, go throughout history, what overall, what is the main consciousness that, wipes out all these other things that was going on. That's something to really consider about ourselves when we, move on, walk through on our lives, get older in the process, and other generations after us, how will they perceive us? That's something to think about too. So, that in Europe during the 16th century, that the Christian church ended up banning lipstick. Now, this was because they viewed any coloring of the lips as a ritual association with pagan rituals. So, as such, around this time in Europe, only the lowest class of people wore lipstick, mainly prostitutes. So, at one point, there was even a law passed by the English Parliament that anyone caught wearing lipstick would be burned. So, on the grounds that they were a witch. It wasn't until Queen Elizabeth I that opinions on lipstick began to change. She, like Cleopatra, wore a bright red lip to contrast with the pallor of white face makeup and made no mind to the church. And since it would be quite frowned upon to burn the Queen of England, the trend began to catch on, and the negative view of lipstick in the churches was overturned. So, social status with lipstick. In this case, the typical trend in society flipped so that only the highest class of society sported that crimson lip. However, lipstick popularity has been nothing sort of a roller coaster ride of either being extremely popular in culture or failing out of flavor. It was in 1884 when lipstick started an upward trend. Once more, that was continued to climb. Oftentimes, lipstick colors were used to distinguish the difference in classes. For example, red was a color associated with high class, while purples were generally associated with lower classes. And you see, as I was saying, mentioning on Friday, the devil in the detail here. Can't combat human nature. The minutia thing, people will find their way to judge, to, put you in a class, put you in put a label on it, whatever. That's just the way that's just the human condition here. So the view of lipstick being for women really became prevalent during the 1890s when lipstick became legal again. And many lipstick ads came out, all featuring women. So they put what on? They put what in the lipstick? That's the question here. And let's get into what are the ingredients in early lipstick. So lipstick weren't always created from the most suitable or edible materials. Many who wore early versions of lipstick ran the chance of ingesting toxic ingredients and dying from it. In Egypt, a common component of lipstick was to be bromomantate and iodide, two toxic metals that, when mixed together, created a beautiful purple hue. Oftentimes, these lipsticks were referred to as the kiss of death. Rightly so, as many who wore them fell ill or, more commonly, died. Another less common ingredient in Egypt that was used to create lipstick was fish scales. Cleopatra was a fan of using fish scales to create that perfect red shade without side effects. So on to the 16th century, It marked the beginning of lipstick that were created from more commercial products that we use today, such as beeswax and dyes. However, some lipsticks made from harmful ingredients were still around. In the 1850s, a popular ingredient in lipstick were lead and beryllium. Also, two very toxic ingredients. These are two very toxic ingredients. It was during the 1900s that lipsticks were put under better quality regulations to decrease the amount of toxic chemicals within them. With the issues of toxicity decreasing, the shift towards improving lipstick turned to formulas. So the main objective was to make lipstick portable and long-lasting. It's easier to say than done when attempting to create a perfect formula that was not only long-lasting but smear-proof. The first notable attempt was Paul, forgive me for the pronunciation, Boutroux, who was a French chemist during the 20s. So he designed a lipstick named Rouge Baiser, which was supposed to be kiss-proof. However, he made this product too well, and it was banned on the grounds that anyone who applied it could not remove it from their lips without serious damage. Multiple attempts were made for smear-proof lipstick, but it wasn't until the 50s that Hazel Bishop created the first true, long-lasting, non-smear lipstick. Other changes in the formula were first produced as far as lip gloss in the 1920s. And that's quite interesting when you break it down. I think that's the power, again, with science and discovery. That science is one of the backings of innovation here. And that's what we need to, focus our attention again on the aspect of how prevalent science is. It's unfortunate in the times that we live in today that people are making a mockery of science. They want to say trust the science when it's suitable to say it, but when it's not suitable, they don't look favorable. For instance, that COVID devil, they want to say otherwise, and that's unfortunate. All right, so here we go. Lipstick shades throughout the ages. So once a longer lasting lipstick hits the markets, so too did various color options arrive. In the beginning, most shades of lipsticks were either red or purple, as those were the easiest to produce. It wasn't until the 50s that lipsticks expanded their available colors. So shades like pink, white, and even black were readily available. So red was still the most popular color, as all of the major starlets like Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor sported an electric red lip. However, other colors such as white and black began to rise in popularity, with groups such as the Ronettes sporting bright white lips and goths preferring midnight black shades. So despite all of the new colors, darker shades to those of lighter ones in current era, lipstick comes in every available color and are only limited to the imagination. So many women prefer to either choose the color based on preference or by the trend of that season. So as the cosmetic industry expanded to include lipstick, many companies capitalized in its created unique formulas. So in a wide range of colors. So one of the most notable lipstick lines ever created was Lip Smacker. I remember Lip Smacker growing up, particularly in middle school. And it gave that fun, youthful look and the sleek marketing and advertising that goes with the packaging of it. It all helps to add the ante that this is for youth-driven product here. So, which was the first company to come out with flavored lipstick. This created a whole new trend of having some sort of flavoring or scent being added to formulas. Currently, one of the most popular lipstick companies, Bites Beauty, created a line of lipstick that are not only customizable with their flavors and colors, but they are truly edible. Another lipstick trend that has become prevalent in 2016 has been color-changing lipstick. A line was created in around late 2015 and early 2016. And so even though this is dated, it's still relevant. So they created a formula of cosmetics that are green, but when applied to the skin, they become pink. Compared to early forms of the 1900s, that was a vast advancement. So, natural and going wild with lipstick. Let's hear and see the comparison. So, well, you can see it, in the link if you choose to, but let's hear the comparison. So, placing color on the lips is more than a means to look beautiful. Today's consumer not only wants a lipstick that offers style, but also comfort, long wearing, and more importantly, is nourishing to the lips itself. Those formulations that offer all natural ingredients, moisturizers, as well as vitamins are preferred by those in the know. Yeah, and it's quite, it's the point there. It's much better to buy products that innate, and they do their best attempts to innate, a good health regimen to your skincare. All right, so lipsticks give freedom of expression. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped. Okay, as well as vitamins are preferred by those in the know. So lipsticks is much more than some silly beauty product. Lipstick gives freedom of expression in a non-permanent way that allows people to change their looks as often as their mood. Despite the advancements in formulas, from edible lipstick to those that change from one drastic color to another upon application, the nature of the product still remains as a symbol of freedom, style, and personal health. Forgive me again of the pronunciation. They also have a link in here, and they have hashtags if you're interested. So, Nylaba K products, they were featured in 2019 on the Oscars attendees. They are always creating without the aspects of putting phosphates in their products or parables. And so, if you want to check out more about this, they have the link for you. All right, so I'm going to go on to, and then, of course, this was from Nylaba.com. And I'm going to go on to more. And this will wrap everything up. So, Oxology.com or OxologyBeauty.com. So, all right, so let me get into, I'm going to go on to, because I said, about the upper class here, and I said, so it's quite interesting. So they say even in ancient Greece, said because I already said that about the prostitution. I don't want to keep dropping that in. So ancient Greek lipstick was made from a combination of red dye, sheep sweat, and crocodile droppings. Wow. So, and going on what I was saying about Queen Elizabeth and extended a little bit, get a little more details here. It says in the 16th century, it says at this time red lipstick was made from beeswax, and they revived, make it more suitable, more better with more palatable ingredients there. And so you get beeswax and then plant-based dyes. And this was typically worn by the upper class. So in the 1700s, red lipstick was outlawed in England on the basis that women were using cosmetics as a tool to seduce men into marriage. So the charge, witchcraft. Similar laws prevailed in the United States, where a marriage could be annulled if it was found that the woman had been wearing red lipstick during the courtship. It's quite interesting. All right, until the late 1800s, most lipsticks, I equate that to the aspects of Salem witch trials here and stuff of itself, with people falling prey to mass hysteria and then not giving in to rationality, and that's the aftermath and the side effects of what can happen to the extreme with the witchcraft in Salem witch trials to this it's not a little minute, but it's just ridiculous in itself with and then you also keep in mind of the mentality of people at that time, but in itself it's something to think about. So in the late 1800s, Guerlain began to manufacture red lipstick, and this was made from grapefruit, butter, and wax. So the Sears Roebuck catalog was selling rouge for the lips and cheeks by the late 1890s. So in 1912, cosmetics was more and more popular and more fashionable towards women in the Western culture. So metal lipstick tubes became available in 1911, making it easier for women to reapply their lipsticks on the go. So by 1923, that is, as I said, by the swivel up lipstick tube, it was patented by James Brace Madison Jr. during World War II. And, it's quite interesting. That's apropos with the aspect of using metal tubes, and then plastic tubes using what was available to them. So I'm going to go on. I'm going to read briefly what it says about the 19th century and go on to the 20th century. I say the 19th century, obviously, use of cosmetic in the Western world was associated with more along the lines in the 19th century with actors and, again, with not desirable women rather than respectable women. As I said about with Audrey Hepburn, where she changed the aspect of how the actors or actresses were perceived. They were perceived as unsavory people, and it was frowned upon at this time in history in the 19th century. So in the early 20th century, after say that 3 times fast. Okay, so in the early 20th century, after centuries of male authority limiting the use of cosmetics, that seems like there's a hidden agenda in that. I say this here. I don't know. It's just more. It's good to see things from two folds. They want to keep pushing this notion that women didn't have particularly a lot of say, at these times in history. But I don't know. A lot of things contradict that. But, again, there's something to think about. So, in fact, red lipstick was very popular among the suffragettes, which is women's suffragists with right to vote, women's right to vote. So with the flapper movement, and it was rising Also, along with the flapper movement, what was rising in silent films in the 20s, red lipstick, particularly dark red lipstick, became enormously popular. So at the time, red lipstick began to represent women's sensuality. So for this reason, many frown upon teenage girls wearing lipstick. So by the time a 1937 survey came around, it revealed over 50% of teenage girls fought with their parents about wearing lipstick. It was implied that girls who wore red lipstick acted provocatively. So during the 50s, red lipstick entered the mainstream, with 2/3 of teenage girls reporting that they wore lipstick in a 1951 survey. In another survey, it says 98% of American women claim to wear lipstick daily. So by the 60s, lipstick was solidified as a symbol of femininity. And it has maintained its status on to the 21st century. And that's something to think about and consider with the aspect of, again, to close out, how something as minor details with the aspects of what you wear, what you don't wear, really takes shape and takes effect of how people perceive you. And that's another thought to process as we think about lipstick and fashion. All right, so this reaches the end of the Harboring Light. Tune in, turn up, and absolutely take care out there. Bye-bye for now.